Have you ever felt stuck analyzing every decision until you do nothing at all? Do you know what you should do but can't seem to pull the trigger? The truth is, overthinking is the silent killer of success. The world's most successful people don't hesitate. They execute. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to stop overthinking and start winning. This is the execution formula, a proven method to move from hesitation to action, from doubt to confidence, and from average to unstoppable. Let's dive in. Step 1. Clarity is power. When you wake up in the morning without a clear sense of direction, your mind becomes the breeding ground for confusion, doubt, and procrastination. You start thinking about all the things you could do, all the options, all the possibilities, and that's exactly where overthinking begins. The human brain is like a heat-seeking missile. It needs a clear, defined target to lock onto. Without a target, it floats aimlessly, wasting time and energy. Clarity is what separates winners from worriers. When you know exactly what you want, your mind starts working like a precision machine. Every action, every thought, every decision starts lining up toward that goal. It's like tuning a blurry radio station. You don't hear the music clearly until you lock into the right frequency. And once you do, everything starts to make sense. The noise disappears, the distractions fade away. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they don't know what they really want. They wander through life with vague desires and half-made plans and then wonder why they feel stuck. Clarity is the cure for that feeling. It forces you to choose, to be specific, to say, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, and this is how I'll get there. When you sit down and get absolutely clear on your goals, whether it's writing them down, breaking them into steps, or visualizing them in detail, you immediately reduce stress and hesitation. Your brain stops running in circles. You eliminate 90% of the mental clutter that leads to overthinking because you've already made the big decision. You've decided what matters. The how will always follow the what. But without the what, you'll be stuck forever in the swamp of indecision, chasing shadows and spinning your wheels. Clarity allows you to measure your progress. When you're clear, you can ask yourself every single day, is what I'm doing right now moving me closer to my goal or further away? That one question alone can change the entire trajectory of your life, because it cuts through the noise and puts you back in control. And the moment you have control, you stop overthinking, because there's no confusion left to think about. All that remains is action. Clarity doesn't just simplify your path, it sharpens your focus, increases your speed, and multiplies your results. It's the foundation of execution. Step 2.2, minute rule. The 2-minute rule is a simple but highly effective strategy that eliminates overthinking and forces immediate action. One of the biggest reasons people procrastinate is that they see tasks as too large, too complex, or too time-consuming. The mind exaggerates the effort required, making even small tasks feel overwhelming. This leads to hesitation, avoidance, and ultimately a cycle of overthinking that prevents progress. The 2-minute rule breaks this pattern by focusing on immediate, effortless action. The rule is simple. If something takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. This applies to everyday tasks like responding to an email, making a quick phone call, tidying up your workspace, or writing down an idea. Instead of letting these small tasks pile up, creating mental clutter, you handle them instantly. The power of this approach is that it prevents small tasks from becoming distractions that weigh on your mind throughout the day. By eliminating them quickly, you create mental space for more important tasks that require deeper focus. However, the 2-minute rule is not just about small tasks. It is also a tool to overcome procrastination on bigger projects. Often, the hardest part of any meaningful task is simply getting started. The brain resists activities that seem time-consuming or difficult, leading to avoidance. But if you commit to working on a task for just 2 minutes, the resistance disappears. Instead of thinking about finishing an entire project, you focus only on beginning. For example, if you need to write a report but feel stuck, tell yourself, I'll just write for 2 minutes. If you need to exercise but lack motivation, commit to stretching or doing a short warm-up for 2 minutes. If you need to clean your home but don't feel like it, start by picking up just 1 or 2 items. In almost every case, once you start, momentum kicks in and you naturally continue beyond the 2 minutes. This is because the hardest part of any task is the initial effort required to overcome inertia. Once you are in motion, it becomes easier to keep going. The human brain is wired to seek completion. When you start a task, your mind wants to finish it. By using the 2-minute rule, you bypass the mental barrier of overthinking and shift directly into action mode. This small shift rewires your habits over time. Instead of associating tasks with stress or avoidance, you train yourself to take immediate action, making productivity feel effortless. This rule is especially useful for breaking bad habits and building good ones. Many people struggle with consistency because they aim too high in the beginning. They set ambitious goals but fail to start because the commitment seems too overwhelming. The 2-minute rule removes this pressure by focusing on the smallest possible action. Instead of saying, I need to read a book, say, I'll read 1 page. Instead of saying, I need to go to the gym for an hour, say, I'll put on my workout shoes. These small actions lower the entry barrier, making it easier to follow through consistently. The beauty of the 2-minute rule is that it creates a habit of execution. Over time, you stop hesitating, stop second-guessing, and stop delaying. You shift from a mindset of avoidance to a mindset of action. And once you start taking action, even in the smallest ways, the habit grows. Small wins build confidence. And before you know it, you become the type of person who gets things done effortlessly. Step 3, the 80/20 execution rule. Most people spend their time and energy on tasks that don't really matter. They work hard, stay busy, and feel exhausted at the end of the day, yet they make little progress toward their biggest goals. This is because they are focusing on the wrong things, low-impact activities that consume time but produce minimal results. The key to executing at the highest level is understanding that not all actions are equal. Some tasks move the needle significantly, while others are just distractions disguised as work. The 80/20 execution rule states that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. This principle, also known as the Pareto principle, applies to nearly every area of life. In business, 20% of your clients generate 80% of your revenue. In fitness, 20% of exercises deliver 80% of your progress. In learning, 20% of information provides 80% of the understanding. The same applies to execution. Only a small portion of your daily actions contribute to meaningful success, while the rest are often wasted effort. The problem is that most people don't identify their high-value actions. Instead, they fill their to-do lists with tasks that feel productive but have little real impact. They check emails for hours, attend unnecessary meetings, tweak minor details, and engage in busy work that doesn't move them closer to their goals. This creates the illusion of progress while keeping them trapped in a cycle of inefficiency. The 80/20 execution rule forces you to break free from this cycle by ruthlessly identifying and prioritizing the few actions that actually matter. To apply this rule, start by asking yourself, what are the 20% of tasks that drive 80% of my results? These are the tasks that, if completed, would make everything else easier or even unnecessary. They are the high leverage activities that produce massive returns on effort. In business, this could be making high impact sales calls, developing a key product, or building relationships with major clients. In personal growth, it could be mastering a core skill, building a powerful network, or maintaining strong daily habits. In health, it could be focusing on compound exercises, getting quality sleep, and maintaining proper nutrition. Once you've identified these critical tasks, the next step is to eliminate or delegate the rest. Most people struggle with execution not because they lack discipline, but because they waste their energy on things that don't matter. The mind has a limited capacity for deep work each day. If you spend that capacity on low-value tasks, you won't have the energy or focus or the things that truly drive success. Another way to apply the 80/20 execution rule is to analyze your biggest time wasters and distractions. If 20% of tasks produce 80% of results, then the opposite is also true. 80% of tasks likely only contribute to 20% of results. This means that most of what you do each day can be cut, streamlined, or outsourced. Social media, excessive planning, constant research, and minor optimizations often fall into this category. These activities might feel important, but they don't lead to major breakthroughs. Cutting them frees up time for the real game changers. The 80/20 execution rule also applies to problem solving. When faced with obstacles, most people waste time overanalyzing and searching for complex solutions. But in reality, a small percentage of actions will solve the majority of problems. Instead of trying to fix everything at once, focus on the few key changes that will create the biggest positive impact. If your business is struggling, the solution is likely not to work harder, but to identify the critical few bottlenecks that are holding you back. If your personal life feels overwhelming, the solution is not to add more commitments, but to remove the few things causing the most stress. This principle is the secret behind top performers in every field. They don't try to do everything. They focus on the few things that matter most and execute them relentlessly. They understand that perfectionism is a trap and that action beats over planning. Instead of spreading their energy thin across dozens of tasks, they channel it into the vital few that create exponential results. By applying this rule, you move from being busy to being productive, from working hard to working smart, and from spinning your wheels to making real progress. Step 4, decide fast, adjust later. Indecision is one of the biggest killers of progress. Most people spend too much time analyzing, second-guessing, and waiting for the perfect moment before making a decision. They believe that if they just think a little longer, gather more information, or wait for the right circumstances, they will make the perfect choice. But in reality, overthinking leads to paralysis. The longer you wait to decide, the harder it becomes to take action. Every moment spent hesitating is a moment lost. Success doesn't come to those who delay, it comes to those who execute. The key to rapid progress is making decisions quickly and refining them along the way. The most successful people in the world are not those who make perfect decisions every time. They are the ones who make decisions fast and adjust as needed. They understand that action creates momentum, and momentum is far more valuable than endless analysis. The truth is, in most cases, waiting for the right answer is just an excuse for inaction. There is rarely a perfect choice, only choices that move you forward and choices that keep you stuck. When you hesitate, your mind begins to create doubt. You start imagining worst-case scenarios, analyzing every possible outcome, and questioning whether you're making the right move. This kind of thinking leads to a downward spiral of inaction. The longer you delay a decision, the more fear builds up, making it even harder to take the leap. But when you decide quickly, you cut through the noise. You eliminate doubt before it has a chance to grow. You shift from hesitation to execution, and that's where real results come from. Most of the time, the difference between success and failure is not intelligence, skill, or luck. It's speed of implementation. The faster you make decisions, the faster you learn. When you take action, you get immediate feedback. You see what works and what doesn't. You make adjustments, course correct, and refine your approach. This learning process is what leads to mastery, but you can't learn from thinking alone. You only learn by doing. High achievers in every field understand this principle. Entrepreneurs who build successful businesses don't wait until they have all the answers. They launch fast, test, and adapt. Athletes don't wait for the perfect training plan. They start training, make mistakes, and improve as they go. Leaders don't spend years contemplating decisions. They make bold moves, evaluate the results, and refine their strategies. The people who wait, hesitate, and overthink are always left behind. One of the biggest myths about decision making is that you need complete certainty before moving forward. But the truth is, certainty comes after you take action, not before. When you make a decision and start moving, you gain real-world data. You see what works in practice, not just in theory. And more often than not, you realize that your fears were exaggerated and the risk was never as big as you imagined. The simple act of making a decision gives you power. It shifts you from a passive thinker to an active doer. The fear of making the wrong decision holds many people back. They worry about failure, embarrassment, or wasted effort. But in reality, the worst decision is no decision at all. Indecision keeps you stuck, while even a bad decision moves you forward. Every mistake is a lesson. Every failure is an opportunity to improve. The most successful people have made countless wrong decisions, but because they acted fast, they also corrected their course faster than anyone else. They didn't let the fear of failure stop them. They used it as fuel to get better. In a rapidly changing world, speed matters. The longer you wait to decide, the more opportunities pass you by. The marketplace moves fast. Technology evolves, and competitors are always making moves. If you hesitate, you fall behind. But if you develop the habit of deciding quickly and adjusting as needed, you put yourself ahead of the curve. You become a person of action, someone who seizes opportunities instead of watching them slip away. You stop letting fear dictate your choices and start taking control of your own success. Step 5, the momentum effect. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in execution. It determines whether you move forward effortlessly or struggle to make progress. Yet most people don't understand how momentum works, and because of that, they constantly start and stop, making everything harder than it needs to be. They rely on motivation, waiting until they feel ready to take action, not realizing that action itself creates motivation. The moment you start moving, the easier everything becomes. Think about pushing a heavy car from a standstill. At first, it feels nearly impossible. The resistance is overwhelming. But if you keep pushing, something interesting happens. The car starts to roll. And once it's moving, keeping it in motion requires far less effort. This is exactly how momentum works in your daily life. The hardest part of any task is the beginning. Once you start, the resistance fades, and progress becomes almost automatic. One of the biggest mistakes people make is stopping too often. They get started, but then they let small distractions, doubts, or minor setbacks derail them. Every time you stop, you lose momentum. And when you try to restart, you have to overcome that initial resistance all over again. This is why many people struggle to achieve their goals. They keep resetting instead of building on what they've already done. But the most successful people don't stop. They understand that once they're in motion, they need to keep going. Even small daily progress keeps the momentum alive. Momentum creates confidence. When you take consistent action, you begin to trust yourself more. You stop second-guessing and start believing in your ability to execute. Every small win reinforces the habit of action. You no longer need to push yourself to get started because action becomes automatic. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by big goals, you focus on making progress one step at a time. This shift in mindset is what separates those who succeed from those who struggle. Another key factor in momentum is reducing friction. The more obstacles you place in your own way, the harder it becomes to stay in motion. If you have to make too many decisions before taking action, you slow yourself down. If your environment is filled with distractions, momentum dies. High achievers remove unnecessary steps and make execution as easy as possible. They prepare in advance, eliminate decision fatigue, and set up systems that keep them moving forward without overthinking. Momentum also compounds over time. A small effort today leads to slightly bigger results tomorrow. The person who reads for 10 minutes a day ends up consuming dozens of books in a year. The person who exercises consistently becomes significantly stronger over time. The entrepreneur who works on their business daily achieves exponential growth. The secret is to focus on consistency, not intensity. Many people start strong but burn out quickly, but those who sustain small daily actions over long periods experience the greatest results. Many people believe they need motivation to take action. But in reality, action creates motivation. When you start doing something, even in a small way, your brain recognizes the progress and pushes you to continue. This is why the best way to overcome procrastination is to take one small step forward. If you don't feel like writing, write one sentence. If you don't feel like exercising, do one push-up. Once you start, you are far more likely to keep going. Momentum also protects you from overthinking. When you are in constant motion, you don't give your mind the chance to create doubt. You don't spend time debating whether you should act, you just do it. This is why execution becomes effortless for those who maintain momentum. They don't have to convince themselves to take action. It becomes a habit. This is the true power of momentum. It shifts you from being someone who struggles to get started to someone who naturally stays in motion. Step 6, eliminate distractions and excuses. Distractions and excuses are the enemies of execution. They are the silent killers of progress, stealing your focus, draining your energy, and keeping you stuck in the same place while you convince yourself that you're working on it. Most people don't fail because they lack ability or opportunity. They fail because they allow distractions to pull them away from what really matters. They let excuses justify their inaction, creating a never-ending cycle of delay and missed potential. To execute at the highest level, you must develop the ability to eliminate distractions and destroy excuses before they take control of your mind. Distractions come in many forms, but the most dangerous ones are not always obvious. Most people recognize social media, TV, and endless notifications as distractions, but the more insidious ones are the ones that disguise themselves as productive activities. Constant research, unnecessary meetings, tweaking minor details, or even planning too much can feel like you're making progress when in reality you're just avoiding the real work. These disguised distractions are dangerous because they give you a false sense of achievement while keeping you from taking meaningful action. The first step in eliminating distractions is awareness. Most people don't even realize how much time they waste. They think they are busy, but being busy is not the same as being productive. You need to track where your time actually goes. If you check your phone first thing in the morning, scroll through social media throughout the day, or constantly switch between tasks, you are training your brain to be distracted. Attention is like a muscle. If you allow it to be scattered, it weakens. But if you strengthen it by focusing deeply on one thing at a time, you gain the power to control your actions instead of being controlled by impulses. The second step is setting up an environment that eliminates distractions before they even happen. Most distractions don't require willpower to resist, they require systems to prevent them. If your phone is within arm's reach, you will check it. If social media is easily accessible, you will scroll. If your work environment is cluttered, your mind will be too. High achievers don't rely on discipline alone. They create environments that make execution effortless. They remove distractions in advance so they don't have to fight them in the moment. They turn off notifications, block distracting websites, set specific work hours, and create routines that keep them locked in. Just as distractions kill execution, excuses kill momentum. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to justify why we are not taking action. I don't have time, I'm too tired, I don't know where to start, I need to learn more before I begin. These statements feel real in the moment, but they are just mental roadblocks we create to avoid discomfort. The truth is, everyone has the same 24 hours. Everyone faces challenges. Everyone starts with uncertainty. The difference between those who execute and those who don't is that executors refuse to let excuses control them. Excuses are seductive because they protect us from failure. If you don't start, you can't fail. If you delay, you can hold on to the illusion that you'll do it someday when conditions are better, but that someday never comes. The most dangerous thing about excuses is that they feel logical, they seem valid. But the reality is that every excuse has a counter-argument. No time? Cut out low-value activities. No energy? Fix your sleep and diet. Don't know how to start? Take the smallest possible step. High achievers don't waste time debating whether they should act. They focus on finding solutions and moving forward. Another way to eliminate excuses is to create accountability. It's easy to let yourself off the hook when no one is watching, but when you make a public commitment, set deadlines, or surround yourself with people who expect results from you, it becomes much harder to make excuses. This is why top performers hire coaches, join mastermind groups, and set clear, non-negotiable goals. They don't allow themselves the luxury of delay. They build external pressure to ensure that action happens no matter what. At the end of the day, eliminating distractions and excuses is about taking control. Most people allow the world to dictate their focus. They react instead of acting with intention. But execution requires discipline. And discipline starts with eliminating everything that gets in the way. When you remove distractions, you create space for deep work. When you eliminate excuses, you remove the mental barriers stopping you from executing. And once you master these two things, nothing can stop you from making progress. Success is not about waiting for the perfect moment, overanalyzing every decision, or hoping that things will magically fall into place. It's about execution, deciding what matters, taking action, and building unstoppable momentum. The difference between those who win and those who don't isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's their ability to cut through distractions, eliminate excuses, and focus on the critical few actions that drive the biggest results. Most people never reach their full potential because they spend too much time thinking and not enough time doing. They hesitate when they should act. They wait when they should move. They overcomplicate what should be simple. But those who understand the execution formula take a different approach. They gain clarity, move fast, and refine as they go. They don't waste time chasing perfection because they know that progress beats perfection every single time. If you want to win, commit to action. Make decisions quickly and adjust as needed. Focus on the 20% of tasks that create 80% of your results. Build momentum and don't let it stop. Set up your environment for success, remove distractions, and refuse to entertain excuses. Because in the end, the only thing that separates success from failure is execution. You already have everything you need, the knowledge, the ability, the opportunity. Now it's time to execute.